guys, welcome to this week's video. I just wanted to start by saying thank you to all of you who have left such kind comments on my last video. They were just so nice. Like, I was overwhelmed by how nice they were. So thank you so much for that. All of those comments really made me realize what a loving community that we have. And it was just really eye-opening for me that there are so many amazing people that are a part of this whole YouTube channel, this community, and it made me want to open up a little bit more on my channel, and that's sort of what I'm doing today in this video. So this bed is really creaky. So the other night I was talking to one of my really good friends, and we were talking about our anxiety and just some things we have been going through. And as we were talking, I was reminded of you guys, because it got me thinking that not everyone has that person that they can go to when they need to like really talk about something. I feel like not everyone has that person that will really listen to them. I have people in my family I can talk to, my siblings and my parents, and my really good friend that I talk to a lot about it as well. And I just want you guys to know that I will be that person for you. I want you to feel like you can come here and then I will truly listen to you just as you guys listen to me. It's not a one-way conversation or relationship. Like, I really want it to be, you know, back and forth. So on my YouTube channel, especially recently, I feel like I've received a lot of comments from people who have anxiety or depression and have commented about it. A lot of those comments are on my online school videos, and it makes sense to me because typically if you're looking for a new school option, you're not looking if things are all going wonderfully in your life. Like, there's a reason why you want to switch schools in the first place. It just made me realize, like, all of us can relate on this topic, especially last week how I was talking a lot about how I don't know what videos to post because I don't know what you guys want. But now I know that you guys are just supportive of whatever I do, and that is so like heartwarming to me. It's so lovely. I know that this topic affects everyone. I want to be a true friend who is going through the same things. So I thought today would be a lovely chance to start that relationship between all of us. Oh my gosh, they are so loud. I'm like in our guest room, which is underneath my little brother and sister's room, and they are so freaking loud. So as a friend to a friend, I want to tell you guys about my anxiety, and then I want to hear about yours or whatever problems that you just want to talk about. So let's get started. So the first time that I really can identify experiencing anxiety, like how I experience it today, was in 4th grade. And in 4th grade, I had just moved to a new town, and things went pretty well in the beginning of the school year. I made a couple friends, and one specific friend that was a really great friend to me. But then, sometime throughout the year, I can't quite remember when exactly it was. I feel like it was like January or February. I don't know, because it literally felt like 50 years. It was just, I'll tell you. So it was around that time that my good friend that I had made randomly started ignoring me. And just before I say anything else, this is just my experience, and I'm not like trying to bring in another person into this. This is just like from 4th grade, and you know, I've forgiven this person and I'm all good. It was in 4th grade that I had this really great friend, and then she randomly started ignoring me, and I still to this day do not know why, but yeah, it was really weird. I was really great friends with her. I felt really good. I was happy with where I was living for the most part. I mean, kind of. I didn't love where I lived before I lived here, but anyway. Throughout that whole time, I think it just sort of triggered my anxiety, because when she started doing that, I just felt really confused, because I was just a little girl who was like, why is my friend all of a sudden... Maeve, Charlie, can you please be quiet? Oh my gosh. Okay, well, if you hear little voices screaming overhead, it's my siblings, and you know what? This is just reality, okay? This is the reality of being a human being, and there's other people, okay? Here we go. So it was really hard for me because all of a sudden my best friend in 4th grade just wouldn't even acknowledge my existence. And I was like, what the heck? It was just so weird. For example, we had like, you know, those like stop, drop, and read days. Like we had one of those. I remember we were in the gym and I stopped and dropped next to this girl and she walked away from me. Like she literally walked away from me. It was just so sad. Okay, anyway, it really hurt me. Deeper than that, like than what was going on with that whole thing with this girl, it was just sort of like my anxiety was developing and that triggered it. Of course, when I was in the moment, I just put it all on this situation because that's what it was stemming from. But yeah, I would get like horrible stomach aches. I would feel like I was gonna throw up like every day because of my anxiety. I never threw up from it, but like I felt like sick to my stomach. And I didn't want to leave my house. Like I didn't want to go to school. Every single day was such a struggle for me. It was really hard. I didn't want to eat. I didn't want to do it. Like it was just, it was really bad. I remember once, like one thing that I really remember, it's kind of making me cry. I don't know why. I was not expecting this. Every day, basically, my dad would drop me off at school and I would just like cry. Like I did not want to get out of the car. It was just so hard. Then I remember one day specifically, I would not get out of the car and like the bell had rung and everything and my dad got me out of the car finally and we walked into the office to sign me in because I was like late at that point, and I started walking to my... Okay, I'm sorry, but I need to tell them to shut up because this is taking away from the moment. So we had to walk into the office and like sign in because I was late at that point. I started walking to my classroom and then I just turned around and I ran. I ran out of the school and I ran to my dad's car because he was still like in the office at that point, and I was just like crying. I was at the car, it was locked, so I was just standing there. My dad eventually came out. I think like the lady in the office was like, your child just ran away. And they had to have my teacher come and take me to the classroom, and it was really hard. Like it was, I can kind of laugh about it now, but like it was a really hard year for me. Like I said, it was just sort of like the time that I truly now can identify as being like anxiety. And every day was kind of like that one day. I just felt like I was gonna throw up every single day, and I just felt, it was a bad year, but I had the support of my parents and they pushed me to go and to get out of my bed every day and to do it and conquer that, and I've learned a lot from that. So I'm so grateful for them and all the people in my life who supported me through that and made it out on the other end. I remember that year, like summer was like the best thing in the entire world that when that year was over. But 5th grade was a better year, and then 6th grade I had another hard year. It wasn't because of anything specific, it was just again like my anxiety was triggered. It was sort of the same thing where I would feel sick to my stomach like every single day, I feel like. So I would want to call home because I was like, oh my gosh, what if I'm sick? And then you know when you're like in this panic in your mind when you're anxious and it's just like blah. There was a stretch of time where I feel like I would call home like every single day. I remember one time I called home so many times that the office lady was like, you can't call your mom anymore, you have to wait till after lunch. And I was like, anxiety already makes you feel trapped, and then like her saying that was like, oh my gosh, like I'm stuck here, like I can't go home, my mom's not picking up the phone. Oh, it was just, ugh. I mean, like in the beginning my mom picked me up because it was just sort of like I had been fine for a while, and like the beginning of the year was fine, and then it was like it started, like that anxiety started, and so she pushed me to go and to just conquer it, which I again am really happy that she did that, as hard as it was during it. I'm really happy that she pushed me, and my parents have pushed me in a loving way, but in like a, you know what, you gotta conquer this, you're okay. And I've learned a lot from that. I had some really good friends in 6th grade, one of which is my best friend now, so it wasn't like a friend thing. I don't know what it was exactly that triggered it. I really don't know. I was trying to think through it the other day, but I think that's just sort of like, I think some of it's like a hormonal thing, because one of my sisters went through a similar thing around the same age, so I don't know. I don't know if it's just hereditary or just how anxiety is. It's just like random. I don't really know. I guess that's sort of what anxiety is like you're not really worried about any real thing necessarily. I mean, of course, in many cases you can be, but like sometimes it's just like you're just anxious. Like there's nothing in your conscious mind that's like, oh, like I'm really anxious about this test or like this situation or whatever it may be. It's just sort of like I'm anxious because I'm anxious. That was another hard year for me, but I made it through again, and the rest of middle school I was pretty much fine, I think. I just still had anxiety, but not to the point where I was like calling home every day. I had it under better control. And then I moved again for my freshman year in high school, and that's to where we live now. And I went to real high school that first year, and honestly, like that year it wasn't so much anxiety of feeling sick every day. It was like, oh, that school was just so bad. Like it was just a different type of anxiety. But now I do online school, which is where I am today. So hopefully that sounded really confusing the way I was explaining it, but that's sort of the 2 years that I can really identify my anxiety being like all like consuming me. Was 4th grade and 6th grade. It was a hard time, and I still experience anxiety today, like every single day. Now that I have like gotten over that like intense time, I'm sure there will be more times where it's very intense, but as of right now that I'm sort of in like a place where it's not so consuming, I would say the biggest things that helped me is just being able to finally identify what it was, because when I would call home because I thought I was sick, I truly thought I was sick. When it's happening, you're not like, oh, I'm anxious. If you're sort of experiencing anxiety for the first time, you might not know that it's anxiety. You might think you're sick or you're whatever your symptoms of anxiety are. But depending on that, once you identify that what you're experiencing is anxiety, then it's a lot easier to start dealing with it. Because when you're still stuck in that mindset that's like, oh no, like I feel sick to my stomach right now, I'm sick, and you think you're sick. It wasn't until I realized that I was actually just anxious and I could identify things that differentiate for me, like being sick and having anxiety, then I would be able to be like, oh, okay, well, Brado, you're just experiencing anxiety right now. You're not sick, you're not gonna throw up. You just are experiencing anxiety, and that's okay. And I think that that's what really helped me after 6th grade, is I sort of realized that. Oh, there's one more thing I want to say about the 6th grade thing. So I remember one time, like after I had called home so many times one day, my mom was like, okay, you're gonna see the school counselor. And we all know how school counselors are. Most school counselors are just bad. That's very general and not me, and like very mean. Let me reword that. The school counselors that I've ever talked to are just sort of like not the most nurturing people in the world. The lady came and she got me, and I was a very fragile person, as you could imagine, at this point in my life. And I went to her little office and she started asking me questions. Oh, I know you've been like calling home a lot. What is it? Do you have trouble with your friends? Or like what's the problem? And I just started crying then. And I started crying when she was like talking about, do you have a problem with friends? And I think that's because of like the problems I had previously, like in 4th grade. In 6th grade, I really don't remember having any problems with my friends. I really don't. And I didn't know what was causing it. And I was like, I don't know. Like I just started sobbing. Oh, this is another thing. I started getting what I call, and my siblings call, red and rashy, which is from anxiety. When you're in anticipation for something and then like it finally happens, it's like I was anticipating having to meet with her, and then it happened, and like all of it kind of like comes out in like a rash or like a flushing. Like it will be on my cheeks and on my chest, sometimes even on my arms. That's like something I'm dealing with right now, which I'll get to in a second. That's like the first time I really remember that happening too. So yeah, I just started crying. I don't remember getting anything out of that other than being mad at my mom that she made me go to that lady, but like whatever, like it's all good now, Mom. And yeah, I just felt like sharing that story. I think like after I met with her, I was like, okay, if I have to go to this lady again, I will stop calling home. Even though it was not that easy. So why I tell you this story is because she was asking me what was wrong, and I didn't know what was wrong. I just felt what I now know is anxiety. So if you're feeling feel whatever, like again, whatever your symptoms are, everyone kind of experiences different things. But for me, like, I feel sick to my stomach and I have like this weird feeling in my throat. And that's like my anxiety. That's how it manifests itself. So if you're experiencing things like that where you're like, I don't know why I'm feeling this way, I just feel like really whatever, fill in the blank with what your symptom is, it's likely that you're experiencing anxiety and that you're just not able to identify it yet. Always talk to your doctor. I'm obviously not a doctor, so you're very likely not sick. Again, with anxiety, we can start to sort of spiral, and then it's like, oh my gosh, what if I'm sick? What if I have this disease? Well, if you're really that worried, then have your parents schedule an appointment with your doctor and just sort of get everything checked out. That's like a great place to start too. It can kind of give you peace of mind because very likely you're just experiencing anxiety. And once I realized that it was anxiety, I was able to make greater strides and feel more secure in myself. When I was going through my anxiety, I was running away from myself. And there's so much that goes into feeling anxious. So once I identified that, I was able to move forward. And that sort of leads me to where I am today. So I go to online school, as many of you know. If you're new to my channel, I do online school, and I have for almost 2 years now. I didn't start online school because of anxiety. I have a lot of questions that's like, oh, I'm really anxious, or I'm depressed, or this or that, and I want to start online school because of that. I personally didn't start online school because of my anxiety. I started online school because of the situation at my high school. It just wasn't a good place for me to learn. To answer your questions, because I get that question a lot, or comment, not really a question, I think online school is a great option for that. I also think that parents are smart to say, you gotta do this, you gotta go. I think sometimes that can be really good. Like in my experience, my parents pushed me, and I've grown so much from showing myself how strong I am and getting through those tough times. But I think that we're in a different time now. I think that it just depends on the individual. If your anxiety is keeping you from doing anything and your parents aren't even able to push you because you're just so deep into your anxiety or your depression, then you need to get greater help. Maybe online school is part of that help or that change in your life that will help you. I don't know, like, I don't know if I had switched to online school in 6th grade, if that would have helped me. I would say that I'm happy that I went to regular school and that I was able to push through it, but everyone's different, and I think that in your core you'll kind of know, like, do I really need to make this change? It depends, and I think that if there's outside influences, like a really toxic school just in general, then I think online school is great. But if it's sort of like the war that you're fighting within yourself, then it can be good to prove to yourself that you can get through it. But again, it all depends on the person. Like, I'm not going to tell you that you should do one thing or the other. I think that talking with your parents is really probably the best way to go. And finding that plan for you, because like I said, everyone's different. Let me know though, like, let's talk about it in the comments. Like, I really do want you guys to know that I'm a friend to you guys. This is not me, like, this face on the platform. Like, this is all of our space. It's not just my space, it's our space. So let's talk about it in the comments if you want to start a discussion about that. I'm sure, I know a lot of you guys have sort of started that discussion in my other videos. So that's sort of what I have to say about that. My anxiety today, I definitely just have like general anxiety. It just runs in my family. I just have an anxious mind. And I have levels of social anxiety, I'm sure, and anxiety over change. So I'm an anxious person. That's just me. And I think that that's sort of what I've come to accept and surrender to, that this is me, this is completely normal. I might have stomach aches, I might feel like I'm gonna throw up sometimes, I might have a panic attack if someone around me throws up. But this is just how I am. And from there, I've been able to help myself and to really find a home within myself where I feel safe and secure. It's taken a long time to get to this point, and I'm by no means over anxiety. Like I said, I'm an anxious person, and I will always be an anxious person. We live in a day and age where there are so many triggers for anxiety, and I feel like most people have anxiety. I think most people always have, and it's just more talked about now, and it's more accepted. Everyone is experiencing anxiety to some level. So today, my anxiety, like I said, is I'm an anxious person, and I definitely experience I've noticed recently that I experience a lot of my anxiety at nighttime when my mind is less in control, I guess I would say. You know when you start to get tired and you're just like, you're less in control of your thoughts in a way, is how I would describe it. It's not like I'm like, ugh, but I'm like, you know what I mean, like when you get tired. My mind sort of starts to race then and sort of feel that anxiety. So I have different things that I do now, and I really want to make a separate video for that because I just have lots of things that I do. If you guys want to see that, let me know. I'll probably make it anyway, even if you don't. So I definitely have anxiety over change in general. Like I'm going on a vacation soon, which I'm really excited about, but there is this level of anxiety to it. And I'm just an anxious person. I'm always sort of like have those worried thoughts that's like, well, what if this goes wrong? What if this goes wrong? And then in my head, it's always like, I have like a big anxiety of throw up, of vomit, of that type of sickness. It is really, I don't really know why, but like it is a huge trigger for me. So then it's like, well, what if that happens when I'm gone? Or like, what if this or that? My mind is just races to those thoughts. Even if on like the surface level, I'm like, Greta, shut up, just relax. Like those thoughts are just subconsciously going on for me. So there's like that type of trigger, or I think sometimes with my anxiety, which is sort of what I experienced in 6th grade, it's like, I don't know why I'm anxious exactly, or it's maybe like some situation that on the surface, I don't think about it giving me anxiety, but it's like, it does. And then I'm like, wait, why am I anxious right now? What if and then it just spirals from there. I have a lot of things that I do now that keep it in control. I definitely have my nights, and I have had my nights where I just am like restless and awake, where I feel sick to my stomach and I'm convincing myself that I have the stomach flu or something. That is sort of what I had gone through a lot. Throughout the past years, my anxiety manifests itself as me feeling physically ill, like stomach ache, and then I have this weird feeling in my throat. And another thing that has happened, and I think I've just become more aware of it because I'm like more aware of my outward appearance now that I'm older. I already mentioned it, but what my sisters and I call being red and rashy. So the research I've done on it, it's just an anxiety symptom. So people just get flushed, but like for me, it's like on a whole nother level of being flushed. I get like rashy, I call it rashy, it's really just flushing, but you know, I don't know. I just like making funny names for things sometimes, so it's red and rashy in our house. Also another thing, like going to the doctors or in situations where I feel trapped, my anxiety is like, oh my gosh. You know, like when you just want to like run away from a situation, you're like, I can't right now, like I'm stuck in here. What if this goes wrong? What if that goes wrong? And then now I'm like, what if I get red and rashy and people are gonna notice it? But no one's ever noticed, like no one's ever pointed it out. It's definitely happening and I can see it. I've learned to just accept the fact that it's just who I am, and it's kind of embarrassing and weird, and I'm scared people are gonna be like, oh my gosh, are you okay? Are you having like an allergic reaction right now? That's what I'm afraid of. But I know I'm okay. I know what it's from. And again, that's just where it goes with, once you identify that it's anxiety, then whatever that symptom is sort of starts to feel more in control to you. Yeah, that's sort of the red and rashy thing. I think in my glowing up video, I got a little red and rashy. And again, like, why was I red and rashy in that? Like, I don't know. It's just, it sort of happens to me in the worst times, which I can go more in depth, like, with my anxiety today as we sort of get this conversation going. So that's sort of where I'm at today. I feel like I just talked a lot and I don't even know what I said. Yeah, I'm an anxious person, and I'm accepting that, and I'm not letting myself be held back by that, because it's just who I am and I can deal with it. And there's people who I can talk to, there's you guys who I can talk to, and again, know that I'm here, we're all in the same boat, and we just need to help each other out and just share and have a place to put our thoughts if you feel like you don't have anyone to talk to, or if you just want to help someone else. I have learned a lot over the past couple of years. Just remember that you're not alone. There's so many people out there, and I know it's easy to say that and still feel so in your own head about things. Whatever you can do to remind yourself of that, you're not alone, and there are so many people experiencing the same things as you are. I'm just gonna read this from my phone and not pretend that I memorized it. This is what I wrote the other night when I was really like, oh, I want to talk about my anxiety with you guys. I really had you guys in my mind. I was like, I need to talk to them about this. So I said, sometimes in big bouts of anxiety, we tell ourselves that we're crazy or going insane, that we're sick or we're messed up. I'm here to tell you that you are none of these things. You're simply a human being experiencing very normal emotions. And when we take the time to work with these emotions and see them for what they truly are, we are able to gain that control back. So our anxiety makes us feel out of control, and it feels like it's pulling that control away from us. But once you identify it, the anxiety that is, you're able to gain that control back. Our anxiety can make us feel like crazy people, but we are just people. And anxiety is a regular emotion, just like being happy is a normal emotion and being sad is. It just comes in varying levels, and anxiety is just an emotion, and it's one that can make us feel freaking out of control. And we have the power to gain that control back and gain control of our lives and our experiences and everything in between. I want to remind you that this is not a one-way conversation. This is a community, and I want to hear from you. Everyone wants to hear from you. If you feel called to share a little bit about yourself, about your anxiety, or whatever your thing is that you want to talk about, then share it with us in the comments. I just feel like it'll be so nice for us to all have a place where we can go and just talk about the things that we might not be able to express to other people, but I know that we'll all be able to talk with the other people on this channel, because I have been, like I said, so blown away by the incredibly kind and compassionate people that are a part of this channel, a part of this community. It's just blew me away. You guys are so freaking kind. I hope that this maybe just made you feel a little bit better, knowing that there's someone out here too that's just an anxious person as well. I'm so grateful that I have a place where I feel comfortable to put this stuff out there, and it's just great. So I thank you guys, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!